who does he put out against the Crosby line, which had a 90% expected goals rate in that game? I don't think that's ever been seen before on Natural Stat Trick, Evolving Wild. None of those sites. It was just a ridiculous performance, to say the least.
Yeah, that's Sid on a mission this playoffs. That's all it is. He's on
tired
another level.
He's tired of this. I think. I really. He knows it's probably potentially the last run with the big three, and he's probably. I mean, the wrist surgery I think could have done a lot of wonders. He's been banged up, I think, the last couple of years. He is willing them to win. He wants this one bad. They need to win one more game with a third string goaltender, and he's going to do, I think, whatever it takes to do it. You know, if the Rangers do lose the series and it happens tonight, you know, maybe people start calling them the Toronto Maple Leafs light for losing to a freaking journeyman goaltender, which is just insane to me. But you know, that's why the games are played, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, even in the loss, Crosby was all over the place. He's the one driving play for the Penguins. He's definitely sick of losing. But if you look, especially looking at his numbers from the last three playoffs, they're not good, to the point where people were saying, has he just lost his ability to play in the postseason? Well, now that you mentioned his wrist surgery, he's healthy again. It could be the last run for the core, and he's well aware of it. I mean, people are asking him about it in pressers. He's well aware that this could be it, because we don't know what the summer holds. He's going to do everything in his power to win games. And when it's Sidney Crosby, the one that's taking over like that, forget it. Connor McDavid couldn't hold that kind of candle to him, because, I mean, you just saw last night, Connor McDavid had every chance to close out a game in overtime in front of his own ice or his own crowd. Couldn't do it. So Sidney Crosby is going to be the one that carries this team out of the first round, just because he's like a house of fire. He wants this more than anything. Not that Domingue has been bad, but I mean, he's making the right saves, making the good saves. But let's just be honest, he looks wild in net sometimes too. He looks like a deck hockey goalie sometimes with those two-handed blocker saves. It's wild.
Yeah, I think he's also lucky he's as big as he is. If he were a smaller goaltender, he wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of the stuff as far as like his habits and the way that he tends goal. Yeah, I think he gets away with a lot because of his size.
Just to go back to Sidney Crosby really quickly, you mentioned the fact that in those pressers, he's been asked those questions. And I think the biggest thing is, it's not that he shies away from those answers either. He doesn't say, well, I'm focused on the game right now. He says, yeah, this could potentially be it. Like, I'm willing to admit that I have no idea what's going to happen. So his honesty in that also shows that he cares a lot about this, and he's not going to just sit there, shut up, and play hockey. He's going to say, you know what, this means a lot to me, and let everybody know that. And he's shown it so far. 9 points in 4 games this series. We talked before the series started that he was 9 points away from 200 on his career. And both of us, Horwat went out on a limb, and he was like, yeah, they're going to have to get to the second round for that to happen. I was like, I don't know, maybe 10-point series. He did it in 2018 with Gensel, and all of a sudden he did it in 4 games. He's one behind Yager for 5th all time. We've talked about it ad nauseum already. And I mean, if I'm Gerard Gallant, there's not much you can do to cover him. I'd probably try to match up the kid line, because that's been their best line. And at least their speed could cause some issues. But other than that, there's not much that he can do. What have you guys made, besides of what we've already said, of Sidney Crosby's ability to not just play well, but to take over this series, even without the points, just able to do it defensively as well?
I'm glad that you mentioned the defensive part of it, because that's where I wanted to take it. Like, how many superstars get deployed in the last couple minutes of a 1-goal game the way that Sidney Crosby does? Because you can trust him to be in that situation. Like, it's rare to have a superstar that obviously does what he does on the offensive side of the ice. You mentioned how many points he has already in just the 4 games in the series. But it's another thing to have that superstar be able to be deployed for a defensive zone draw when you're up by 1 goal and need to hold off the other team. I don't think that there's many players, if any other players, maybe like Patrice Bergeron is the other one that comes to mind, because of, you know, how good of a two-way player he is in Boston. But there's so very few guys that are in that category. And for him to be, you know, basically a shutdown center at 35 years old, despite what he also does on the offensive side, it's just a tribute to his work ethic and the way that his game has just aged beautifully, and he just continues to adapt.
Yeah, he's been doing the Lord's work against the Kreider as a Benajad Vetrano line. I mean, it's nuts that Mika so far, knock on wood, has been such a non-factor in this series. You know, he's a 80, 85 point player, almost a 90 point player, making a lot of money. Sid has done a great job against him. You know, again, everyone defensively, I think, has done a really nice job. I think that, that's been the main reason the Penguins are up right now outside the Crosby line is that, they've been able to play well in their own zone. And, when the Rangers try to attack them and try to get a cycle going, there's really not much there.